This is Talk Business and Politics with Roby Brock.
I'm Roby Brock. Welcome to today's Talk Business and Politics Daily. It's been a busy week at the state capitol as lawmakers finally got moving on some legislation. We'll recap a few of the big things that moved through each side of the capitol this past week. I'll also sit down with Senator Reggie Murdock, the Democrat of Marianna, to talk about some things that are happening on the DEI front, as well as affirmative action. He gave a pretty passionate speech on the Senate floor earlier this week on a bill that he opposed. He's also got a constitutional amendment that you might want to learn a little bit more about. All of this and more on today's Talk Business and Politics Daily.
Talk Business and Politics Daily is sponsored in part by Impact Management Group and
Power. It's right there, waiting, ready to go when you are. Connect this, click that, unconnect and go every day. Delivered by your electric cooperative. Each unique, always united, and completely local. Born from a mission to provide dependable, sustainable, and affordable power to every corner of Arkansas. And delivering on that promise for a brighter Arkansas every day. It's the local hometown cooperative way. Better connected. Together. The Electric Cooperatives of Arkansas.
You work hard for your future, so saving for your retirement should be easy. That's why AARP supports Arkansas Saves to help hardworking people in Arkansas build a secure future. It will let you save for retirement right out of your paycheck, and you can take your savings with you even if you change jobs. Arkansas Saves is good for workers and good for small businesses because there's no cost to employers. Learn more today.
Well, it was a busier week than we've previously seen in the Arkansas State Legislature as bills finally started moving through committees and some of the chambers on each end of the Capitol. Here's a recap. Governor Sarah Sanders pitched the new Trump administration for a waiver to Arkansas's Medicaid insurance program this week that will add a work requirement for able-bodied individuals. Governor Sanders made changes to an effort by former Governor Asa Hutchinson that was struck down by federal courts in 2019. Some of those changes include using technology to take the reporting requirement for looking for work away from individuals and letting automation help, improving communications between the state and Medicaid recipients, and if an individual on Medicaid who is determined able-bodied for work does not comply, they will initially be suspended from their Medicaid expansion coverage. A grace period will allow them to come into compliance before being kicked off the program. A bill that would only allow an injured plaintiff to recoup the medical bills that are paid by an insurer cleared the House this week. Under the current system, a plaintiff can seek the full amount charged by a medical provider, even if the insurance company negotiates a lesser amount to be paid. Plaintiffs can also seek to have medical insurance premiums paid. Supporters of the bill, which is House Bill 1204, sponsored by Representative John Eubanks and Senator Missy Irvin, said that this addresses what are known as phantom damages, and the bill would increase transparency and fairness in the calculation of damages during litigation. Opponents say the bill would change legal precedent, result in lower amounts of money awarded to injured victims, and not necessarily lower insurance cost. A controversial bill that the sponsor said would prohibit discrimination or preferential treatment by Arkansas state agencies and public entities passed the Senate this week. Opponents contend the measure, Senate Bill 3, will lead to a lack of minority opportunities in business, government, and education. The bill, sponsored by Senator Dan Sullivan, Republican of Jonesboro, would prohibit discrimination or preferential treatment favoring an individual or group on the basis of race, sex, color, ethnicity, or national origin in matters of state employment, public education, or state procurement. Sullivan said Arkansas should not be an affirmative action sanctuary state. The bill now heads to the House. And Senator Reggie Murdock, Democrat of Marianna, who opposed that bill by Dan Sullivan, Senate Bill 3, will be our guest after the break here. You can keep up with all of the legislative action on our website at talkbusiness.net. We're back with more right after this.
Talk Business and Politics Daily is sponsored in part by Capital Advisors Group and
in the Navy, I train recruits. At Walmart, I recruit veterans. So many veterans have built their careers here.
I served in the Army for 11 years. I was promoted 4 times. Been with Walmart 9 years. I've been promoted 5 times.
I started as an hourly associate, and now I run the store.
430,000 veterans hired in the last decade. That's more than serving in the U.S. Navy today. There's no better place for veterans to work.
Connection. It's the heart of what we do. It's why we work to better the communities where we live and work. It's why we're expanding to get people connected and create digital equity programs that support affordable internet and digital literacy. We're leaders for positive change. From the way we empower our people, clients, and communities to the way we care for our planet. We live our values every day. We're Cox Communications, and we're pleased to connect with you.
Joining me now, State Senator Reggie Murdock. He is a Democrat of Marianna, and it is good to see you, Senator Murdock. Thank you for being with us.
Good afternoon, my friend. Great to be here.
Let's talk a little bit just before we dive into some specific legislation. Just the session's wrapped up I think your full second week, third week. Anyhow, you're finally making some traction on some things up here. How's the start of the session been compared to other ones for you?
Yeah, it started slow. It's starting to move on a little bit now. I can see momentum starting to pick up as some of these pieces of legislation are hitting our committees and making it to the floors. Still hadn't ramped all the way up, but I can see some movement.
Let's begin with one of the big debates of this week. It was over Senate Bill 3 to basically end affirmative action in some of the state government and higher education agencies throughout the state of Arkansas. You gave a passionate opposition speech to this on the floor. I think it was the most powerful of all of them that were up there. Tell me what you had to say to your colleagues on this particular legislation.
Well, obviously, it was the most egregious piece of legislation that I've seen since I've been here in the 15 years I've been here, because of what it does to the body and how it speaks to the work of the body. It sets back us as a state, as a body, legislative body. If it passes the House, in my opinion, it sets us back many, many years. The narrative that had been drawn by Senator Sullivan was that this was preferential and discriminatory. And it's quite the opposite. The affirmative action policies that are in place were there for a reason. Not to rehash all of that, but we know what 300 years of history did do to people of color, women, and others. And we have made some strides to move forward, quite frankly. And this bill just takes us back because he wants to remove everything. But the premise and the spirit of the bill is so bad because he attacks people as being treated in a state of priority and pushing someone else down, or in a discriminatory fashion. And all it is, Roby, is opportunity and access. We know that there were days where there was not an opportunity for a person of my color to be in the room and get a proper choice, a chance to be the choice. Those affirmative policies did that, and it was in the merit that he talked about that everything should be based on. I never would get a chance to show my merit, especially as it relates to experience and time on a job, because I would never get the chance. So what his legislation does is takes us way back, if it passes, to where there won't be chances for people that look like me, women and others, minorities, people of color, to have an opportunity to even be in the room.
Obviously, Senator Sullivan's not here to defend his position on this, but I want to kind of recap a little bit of the debate yesterday. He made the point of talking about, like minority recruitment, teacher recruitment programs, and how, Black students learn better. At least there's studies out there that show that from Black teachers that look like them. And his question was, should we just have white teachers for white students? Maybe address where you think he's coming from. I'm sure you've had some very, lengthy conversations with him on this. Where do you think his worldview has come from that he doesn't see your point of view?
I just think he comes from a place of ignorance, respectfully speaking, but from a place of just not opening his eyes to what's truth. I think the truth is what it is, and he's not acknowledging it. He's not acknowledging the facts of how people learn, environments, and what access and opportunity gives all of us to make us a more model America, a more diverse and whole community, if you will, as it relates to who teaches children. All of those things are just so important. Who even attends institutions, who get a chance to be in the workplace, because the world is full of all of us. But the way he has done it and the way he sees it, in my opinion, is he sees an old world that did not present opportunity for everyone. And he says that his bill is to give everyone a chance and not to give preference to any special group. The point is, who he is trying to make sure is represented is the majority. They're already well represented. And a white man, respectfully speaking, cannot ever say that he's not represented in this world, especially in the United States of America. So the policies and the things he's trying to push back are things that gave others, Roby, others an opportunity to have access to education, jobs, wealth, all of the American dream. And he's saying no to that, as though, as Senator Tucker mentioned yesterday, any of the policies that have been passed to help level the playing field has hurt the majority in any kind of way. It has not hurt anyone.
There is not the phrase DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, in the bill, yet this is kind of part of the conversation. We're seeing this happen, obviously, at the state level. We're seeing it happen at the national level. As we speak today on Thursday, President Trump held a press conference to talk about the tragedy with the air crash at the Reagan Airport in Washington, D.C., and he basically asserted that the DEI programs of the FAA and the Department of Defense could be what has led to this fatal crash right here. Talk to me more broadly about what you see as the attacks on DEI. Give me the argument for why diversity, equity, inclusion programs should not have the rug pulled out from under them.
Because what it provides, Roby, quite honestly, is access, opportunity to be diversity, inclusion, equity, to be a part of the process, educational, job, otherwise. Let's use that example that you just mentioned. Because if it was a minority that was as an air traffic controller or in whatever position, to blame it on that person for a tragic accident that we've seen, it does not mean that because that person was given some opportunity to be a part of the program, that they did not go through the rigor, the training, and make the necessary scores and pass the test, if you will, to be where they are. I am an engineer, licensed engineer. Nobody gave me nothing but an opportunity. As I said yesterday, the Transition Retention Minority Engineering Program at the University of Arkansas, that gave me an opportunity. Roby, I still had to pass calculus, thermodynamics, statistics, all of those classes to give me an engineering degree. I had to go and do the work. So to say DEI, because it gives opportunity and access to individuals that in the other world never had a chance or a voice, to say that is the problem. No, we're not giving credentials. We're not giving master's degrees, bachelor's degrees, certifications of excellence in our area of choice. We're not giving those. We earn those. But what we were not giving previously, and still would not be given if Senator Sullivan's legislation passed, is opportunity. We will not be chosen.
Why do you think DEI and affirmative action have gotten the bad names that they have?
I think it's a way that you can get momentum from people to pit people against people. I think some people use it as a form of, as Senator Sullivan said in his campaign, as he said, now President Trump did in his campaign. You can make people feel like these people will be given preferential treatment over you. So the reason why you're not doing well is because of what we have to do for them. But it's not fair, it's not a balanced argument, and it's not considering all the factors of over 300 years. What I want to do, though, is give credit for what we've done in the past since 1965. There is some strides we have made. Why go back? As I said to the Senate yesterday, and I think that my colleagues that were there yesterday, I think they were in a very bad position. I'll say it quite frankly and publicly. Many of them have come to me to talk about what happened, and we will have future meetings. But politically, they made and did what they thought they had to do. But you notice the way the tenor of the room, listen, we know what that was, and we know what it is. And I'm just prayerful that on the House end, that we'll have some intercession and some courage to push this back.
All right, I want to move on to one other topic before we go. Thank you for sharing your thoughts on all that, by the way. You are a sponsor of a potential constitutional amendment that would abolish slavery and involuntary servitude in the state of Arkansas. Why is that even in our 1874 Constitution, which would have come after the Emancipation Proclamation was signed into law? Why is this on the books? And tell me what you're trying to do with this constitutional amendment.
Well, to even be able to answer why it's on the books and why it's still there and why it was even ever put there, it just goes to the motivation and of some others that I can't speak to. But I do know that it needs to be eliminated. It is now on the books that slavery can be the punishment for a crime. You can be enslaved for a crime and as punishment. And we know what that means. We know how reckless that is and how much danger it can do and has done. I do think this will be a no-brainer. I would like to think that this will be a no-brainer to get this off the books, if you will, and out of our constitutional writings so that we can look like we should look as a state.
All right. He is Senator Reggie Murdock, Democrat of Marianna. We always appreciate you sharing your thoughts with us, and thanks for making time. I look forward to talking to you further in the rest of the session.
Thank you, sir.
And that's all for this edition of Talk Business and Politics Daily. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to watch us this weekend on Capitol View and on Talk Business and Politics. I'll sit down with Congressman French Hill, who was in Arkansas for the first time in about a month. We'll talk about his new role with the House Financial Services Committee. Until next time, take care.